I think we started around boy. PKN episode 129. Welcome to Trump's America. Dude, Trump's America.
It's causing a lot of recording issues.
It is. You know, the thing about Trump's America, I feel like what we've been getting is what he told us we were going to get. And we talked about this 100 times during the election cycle, right? I think Kyle even described him as water at one point and said, you know, he will fit into whatever bucket you want him to fit into. But now that he's elected, he's actually, like, he wasn't water all that time. He was really a thing. Today he's going to announce his Supreme Court justice. Guaranteed he's pro-life, right? He's been saying pro-life during the whole election cycle. Everyone he puts on the court is going to be pro-life. If that's not what you were looking for, dude, he told you that all along. He did that 7-country ban, and it is kind of a Muslim ban. I thought he wasn't going to be able to pull that off. Apparently, he handed it off to Giuliani, said, hey, find a way to make a Muslim ban legal. And Giuliani came back, said, well, you know, it's really about security. And here's the thing. We're going to ban people from these 7 Muslim countries. And if they're a minority religion, Christian, then they're going to get special treatment and we'll let them in. Okay, then. He did a Muslim ban. The wall, yeah, people are saying he's building the wall. He's not. What he needs is Congress to approve the budget for the wall. Really what he did is like I heard a comedian describe it as a child making a wish list for Santa. You know, he signed an executive order, but there's no money behind it. So, but he intends to, and his heart is exactly where he said it was going to be throughout the whole election cycle. This is Trump's America, and to my surprise, there are no surprises. This is exactly what he said he'd do from the start.
Pretty much. I don't know if you can look at it as a Muslim ban because there's so many, you know, there's, like I said, 46 other countries that are predominantly Muslim that aren't banned. Like, look at Indonesia. I mean, there's more. I think they're a very populous country full of Muslims. What they were saying is that it was their recommendations were based on danger, but of course there's a hypocrisy of, you know, Saudi Arabia not being on the list. But that goes twofold.
Yeah.
That goes twofold when I hear those CNN commentators. They're like, he didn't put Saudi Arabia or this country or that. And they're like, so would you like him to? He's like, no,
right. Yeah.
No country should be on the list. And they're like, well, you can't have it both ways. It's either that Trump is banning all Muslims or that Trump is picking and choosing which countries he wants to ban and not banning the ones that are actually dangerous. Like, make up your mind. He's done something wrong, sure. But I think it's honestly his implementation more than anything. And he should have anticipated that the media is just frothing at the mouth for anything and everything to make him look like Hitler or Stalin or whatever despot you want to imagine, you know, kicking people out of the country, controlling the borders. But that momentary thing where there were people who had, you know, they were on mid-flight or they had, you know, the correct paperwork, but you know, the order falls, you know, and like catches them as they're passing through the doorway. In effect, you know, they're all legal, but then this thing comes down and they're overnight or 2 days maybe in the airports. That was a bad thing that shouldn't have happened. But it's not like the Japanese internment camps. It's not like there are people somewhere like starving behind a fence. Like, when are they going to let us out? They let them all go.
That number goes from hundreds to thousands when you count the people who never got on a plane, right? Like, I was scheduled to come back a week from now, and I'm just fucked overseas. Like, it gets a little bigger.
I don't know how to calculate the ones who didn't get on a plane, but yeah, sure, there are people I'm sure who were smart enough to be like, or well, they were turned away. You know, when you tried to get to board that flight or you tried to get your passport stamped or whatever to go to the U.S., they were like, no, this is a Yemenis passport. That won't fly, buckaroo. On your way. Like,
yeah, I'm just saying there are people who were visiting their family for 2 weeks and then overnight, you know, now they're like, oh, well, fuck, they might even go to the airport.
Is it 120 days or 90 days, like the period?
I think it's 90.
They have to wait.
I'm not sure.
I think
and then even then,
like
I don't know that it ends in 90 days. In 90 days, we just take a second look at it. And
well, he can extend it indefinitely. Like the president, they read the part of the Constitution that covers this, and it's very broad in the powers that it gives the president.
Syria, I think, is indefinite.
Well,
yes, Syrian refugees are indefinite for sure. And I mean, shit, they probably should be. Like it was a Syrian refugee who did at least one of those terror attacks, wasn't it, in Europe?
I'm not positive. I'm not saying you're wrong. No. But so there's
Seems
this
likely.
plaque. I think it's on Ellis Island or the Statue of Liberty or something. Right? Give us your tired, your poor, your humbled masses, yada yada yada. And like, so I'm asking myself, like, is it wrong to do a whole philosophy change on that thing, right? What if we changed it to, like, give us your highly educated, you're
Give us your
especially
strong,
skilled, give us
your
your
astute,
strong.
your
Well,
STEM majors.
yes, here's the elite. We are the Harvard of countries. We will take your best of the best, and that's who's allowed to come into the new America. And give us your, advanced degrees, give us your strong, give us your brave, give us this, that, highly skilled. We'll take your actors and your artists and your engineers. And I'm just
Listen for man.
well, like, I just asking, like,
And they will be waiting 90 days. You better believe it.
like, people are like, oh my God, what he's doing is contrary to what's on the plaque at Ellis Island. And I think, like,
Who wrote that plaque?
is
I
it
did.
wrong though? Like, is it
French, probably.
like, and are you entitled to
It was
get
an
in?
undercover like guy who snuck in off the boat, and he
Yeah, right.
chiseled that in
Made
so that when
sure
the rest of his family was coming over, like, well, you just said what was on that thing. Like,
Yeah,
put
yeah.
that there.
I mean,
don't
picture
know.
huddled masses. Is that really who we want to be bringing in? Like,
No.
like full force? And the more I learn
It's
about
just
the current
dramatic
vetting
language.
process, the more I learn about the current vetting process for refugees, it sounds like they're doing a very good job already. They're talking about a 2-year period where they vet these people. That sounds pretty good. You'd have to be a real undercover agent, like a real Manchurian candidate, to get through all that. It would seem. But then I heard a guy today bring up, I think it was a politician of some kind. I lost in the discussion who he was, because what he was suggesting was so comical and ridiculous to me. He was like, let's just put an ankle bracelet, a GPS tracker on all these Syrians. Then we know where they are all the time. And I immediately leapt to, like, Nazi Germany, putting the Star
Like
of David
sharks?
on the Jews, And then they followed up, like, as soon as I had this picture in my head of those Jews walking around with those Stars of David on their coats and shirts and whatever in Germany back in the day, they said, because Angela Merkel just has implemented a similar policy that's working great in Germany. And I was like, oh my God, the Germans? Like that's the hypocrisy of the global media, right? And Angela Merkel, the chancellor of Germany, is rounding up Syrian refugees and tagging them and putting GPS trackers on them that they can't remove like animals. But Hitler is right here and he's got blonde hair.
Kyle, name just 2 other times that Germany got out of control and tried to use, like, a union in Europe to impose their will. Just twice. That's right, you can't.
Yeah, Kyle, I really think you're going overboard here. Catch and release is humane, and there's nothing wrong with that. Tag
If
in
you can't
your
eat them, I don't see the point.
I like it to catch them. There's going to be a lot of bad optics, as they call them, a lot of bad stories.
I like that term.
Yeah, me too, because it's not really. Oftentimes,
Have you not heard it,
op-
Taylor? Optics is the new term they use for trying to look good. Like if a press secretary goes out there and puts a spin on something, he's working on optics.
Yeah. So, for example, if a Mexican illegal
PR.
were to be like driving to the store to get his baby diapers, he gets pulled over for a taillight out. They grab him, nab him. He's back in Mexico before he can even contact his wife. She dies in labor. Her and the baby die, and she was a U.S. citizen. Those are bad optics for the Trump immigration plan. If that were to happen, obviously, you'd say, "Oh my God, look at what we've done." All we wanted to do was, be safer and help our economy by getting these non-taxpayers out or whatever your
So
thing
they just
is.
like find a list of really sad anecdotes.
necessarily a
And are like,
list,
are
it's
you
just-
convinced yet? No. Well, we have more. Another
I
one.
look back at the Obama administration, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I feel like not having the patience or aptitude for optics is one of the failings, right? Obamacare, people, they don't like it. No one really knows why they don't like it. Well, some people do, but by and large, it's blasted.
People why. It increased the rate of their premiums and
So that's
caused
like
their coverage
not
to get shitty.
true, right? Like the rate of premiums increased at a slower rate than they did without it, and it's
Earned
really
60%
difficult to
in Arizona.
compare Obamacare to like the alternate universe where there was never an Obamacare because premiums were skyrocketing out of control before it. And now apparently people like Obamacare more than they did when Obama was in office. They're having a hard time getting away with it. There's all that Trump grit stuff going on around the internet. Like, I voted for you. How dare you take away my Obamacare? How are you surprised, motherfucker? But anyway, if Obama
Do you
had
actually
worked,
believe any of those? Like those fake troll accounts of people going, I voted for Trump and he's taking away my Obamacare. My mom's going to die. It's like,
the
no, this
only
is just
one
an
I
asshole
believe. There's
pretending
one
to be-
guy out there writing that, and he's that Syrian guy whose whole family is being deported from Jersey right now. Who voted
Really?
for Trump? Yeah, he's a little regretful. He's like, oh shit.
but Obama
His
didn't
wife
work
is
on
like,
optics
I
at all.
told you!
He never talked about the amount of people being covered. He never talked about the amount of people helped. They didn't focus on optics in the slightest. Whereas the Trump administration,
think
they've got
that they
Breitbart in
do.
charge, and they're working on optics every day. Go ahead.
They really tried to make Obamacare look good. I think they peddle that BS statistic of like 20 million, 18 million more people have coverage. It's like, yeah, no shit. When you make a government mandated penalty that you have to buy this or it's going to charge you up the ass, people buy your bullshit coverage that they're not going to use in the first place. You're just charging huge sums of money to middle class people, for the most part, lower middle class, especially young, healthy people, to pay large premiums on policies they're not going to use. You have a higher deductible. You have more copay than you did in your previous, or at least me, on my better plan before. And then you're basically subsidizing healthcare for the lower class, which is you want people in the lower class to have healthcare, but mandating that huge swaths of the population have to buy this coverage. You have to buy this, or you'll be taxed on your. Or you'll be
the way you say it
taxed.
makes it sound like you had to buy Obamacare. You just had to have
did.
health insurance.
No, if you didn't have health insurance and you didn't buy Obamacare, you got fined.
Well, if you didn't buy Obamacare, you could buy some other health insurance. I don't have Obamacare.
Yes, that's true. But I'm saying that the people so like someone my age, if I want to be able to buy good health insurance.
You can.
And I can. But if I don't have that ability to, and I'm not making quite as much, I have to get Obamacare. And unless I have a catastrophic injury or something horrible, I'm never going to see anything of that. If you have an eye doctor or a dentist, you can usually pay for that out of pocket on your own. Without it being inordinately,
and it's not going to cover your dental anyway if you've got some bronze plan.
Yeah, it's not. Dental's not. You're not going to get.
If you're paying for the plan that has dental on it, you probably don't have the money to come
dental
out of
insurance
pocket for
is bullshit. I don't even have dental insurance.
Have you ever had a root canal?
Yeah, dental insurance stops at like $1,500.
Root canal's $1,200.
Yeah, so I'll pay $1,200. Like, it doesn't get me anywhere. Like, I hate paying hundreds of dollars a year for dental insurance. And
I guess that's true. That unless you're playing sports and you might get your teeth knocked out once a year, you're absolutely right about that.
If it's bad, like if you got some real dental emergency, you drove your motorcycle into a guardrail and all your teeth are gone, well, that's major medical now. It's not like everything is just dental, like because it's involving your teeth and jaw.
Yeah, that's a good point about dental. Yeah, I guess so.
But don't
unless
take
you
my
had some
advice on
sort
this.
of
I'm not an
condition.
expert.
Yeah. If you have a condition, there are people with issues where they have to go to their dentist often.
They're born without
treatments.
enamel or something, and every dentist appointment is $600. Yeah, then it's a win for them. But for my family, like I usually just pay out of pocket. It turns out my dentist offers a plan. They're like, if you want to prepay a little, all your cleanings are free and everything else is 20% off. And it's like, oh, well, it's the cost of 2 cleanings, so I'll just do it. It makes sense. But anyway, I've talked about Obamacare 100 times. I love the idea of a mandated healthcare because if you don't mandate that people buy it, then they will irresponsibly just go to the emergency room and get their treatment, and I'll pay for it. And that sucks.
Yeah, there has to be something there. I mean, you don't have to sell me on the idea that the taxpayer is going to pick up the cost anyway when some uninsured fucker stumbles into the ER, right? So there has to be something.
When you talk about optics, right? Obamacare should have said Obamacare is a plan of personal responsibility, right? We had all these uninsured fucks who would just waltz in or roll in, I guess, to the emergency room, get their treatment, and then say, sorry, don't have any money, fuck off. That was the previous plan. That's what we had before Obamacare. People would just roll in and then say fuck off after they got their treatment.
Yeah,
then
you're absolutely right. If he sold it that way, like there are a lot of Americans who aren't paying their fair share.
Right.
They're stumbling into our ERs across this country. And you know who picks up we always hear about the overpriced Q-tip, the overpriced bandage. It's overpriced because of those people. With this new law, those people have to get insured. So each and every American will pay the same, and they'll have the same responsibility. The problem is those poor people don't have to pay into it anyway, right?
Or they pay a
they
reduced
end up-
amount. I get that. I know they're not paying their fair share.
It's not even close. You know, it's like paying in a few $100s into tens of thousands of cost in the end. It's like 1% of the thing. It just doesn't work.
For every guy like that, there's somebody else who's putting way more in than they will ever get out of it.
And I hate to say it, but as Americans especially, there is a large number of obese people who have extreme medical expenses that they brought onto themselves. And it just seems wrong. Watch Bill Burr's part of his special where he talks about the fat people and personal responsibility and how fat people have no concept of the sacrifice and the effort that's put into not being like them. Right, and he goes into that for a while, but that's
those Nashville fans were not having any fat bashing.
They liked their biscuits and gravy.
I was just thinking biscuits and gravy. Yeah,
they didn't like his Michael Jackson talk. It was a rough crowd to film a special on, I thought, but to me, I just ignored the fucking crowd and just enjoyed him because I thought it was hilarious. I liked it. It's he's had there are 3 of them I think that are like top tier that he's done back when he had hair. You know, like You People Are All the Same. That's one of them. I can't recall the name of the other 2 specials, but his earlier specials, I like all of those. I feel like they're all just. I like oftentimes when I meet a new person and we've got Netflix there, I'm like, do you know who Bill Burr is? And I'm always hoping they don't, so I can just fucking roll out 3 hours of entertainment that they're gonna love. And this fits right in there. There's 4 hours of Bill Burr entertainment now that people are gonna love. I feel like
today on the podcast he was talking about his wife. And he was talking about how amazing she is, how she takes an interest, and how she has this energy and passion and drive.
On the Joe
about
Rogan
her.
one, or on his?
This is the Joe Rogan podcast, and I was like, "Fuck, he really likes her." We would get some amazing content if they would divorce. It would be the show to end all shows. Bill Burr going through to family court. They have a kid now. They got
a kid now, so it would be very sad.
Oh, it would be sad, but so funny. So he would knock it out of the park because he's like the men's rights kind of comedian. Like no one else really talks about, they're too nice almost to portray that. Even
they don't
Louis
want to piss off half their viewers.
Louis C.K. went through a divorce that seemed pretty rough on him without ever saying a harsh word about his wife or the family courts or any of that.
Listen to Opie and Anthony, and you will realize that he really tore into his ex-wife on O&A. Louis C.K. did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
well,
there's a couple. I don't
to
quote me on that because I don't know if that's the same woman I'm thinking about that he was talking about.
Okay.
But it was did he get divorced 10 years ago or something?
Sounds
it was a long time ago, right?
It was funny.
Well,
He's got a. I'm not spoiling the joke, but he has this joke about having a dream, and it's some real fucked up shit in the dream, and he wakes up out of bed, he bolts up, oh my god, and his wife's like, what? He's like, I just had the worst dream of my entire life. She goes, was it about me? He's like, no, you self-centered fuck. Not everything is about you. Not everything is about you. This is me. I love that.
He does the men's rights stuff. I find it super funny, but I guess it's good that he loves his wife and kid. Boring.
Yeah, for now.
I don't even think of it as a rights thing as much as he does a good job skewering lots of different groups of people that usually kind of slide under the radar because the comedian's too afraid. Like, oh, what if I don't say it right and people get upset? And he just kind of goes whatever, fuck it, it'll work out. If it's funny, and people appreciate it.
He's got this one routine about women arguing in particular. He's like, I figured out what they do. I figured it out, and we're turning this franchise around. And he's so funny. He kills it.
I've caught women doing that, and I've been like, wait. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is this thing over here, and in that regard, I'm right. Don't you be going over there to Kyle's wrong town. That's and I'm not going.
Kyle's wrong town. Population, you, not me. I'm over here. Kyle's right town. And you're coming over.
This is the good part of it.
The subject up on you and go over to some other shit, confuse you. You start trying to defend that other thing they threw out in the middle of your car instead of swerving around and staying right on fucking
It's the pocket sand equivalent of argument. Where it's, oh, what were we talking about? It doesn't matter. On to something else.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Women do have it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've caught Jackie doing that too. But I never steer her back into Woody's Right Town in a way that, like, really makes her say, you're right about this. I was wrong to change the topic. And on the previous topic, I was wrong there too. They never go down that way.
No, probably not. I try to lock it down right there. Be like, whoa. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this thing. And in regards to that, this is how I want to do it. And explain to me why it should be any other way. And if you do it like that, they're fucked.
I'm a bad person. I just steamroller. I'll be like, oh, now you're talking about this. How are you talking about that? Because I thought we were talking about this other thing over here. Go on for 40 seconds of that.
Oh,
no, I don't actually.
Different thing. Oh.
I just steamroll the conversation to, obviously and painfully point out, like, the tactic and how clear it is that she's wrong. And it's never like, it's not good. It's not the way that debate should be handled in a marriage.
Never explain how your trap works to your prey after they've fallen into it. You want them to just keep wandering about. Next time you're in that discussion, maybe you notice again, oh, yep, another derivation. I've won. I already know I've won. And then you go in with confidence, But now she's going to be careful.
But the win is like, whatever, having sex afterwards. Like, that's the win, right? The win isn't her admitting that she's wrong or the topic at hand, whatever it is. It's never anything important. The win is like us both being happy at the end of it.
Yeah, the real win is just getting that cumulative mood back up.
Yes, yeah. And steamrolling her about her arguing tactics never, like, guides us towards my actual
No, nobody's ever like, you know what? I recognize that as a fault, and I'm going to continue to work on it.
That's not it. That's not it.
I hope you'll be there to give me strength during this this time in my life where I try to make myself a better person. I'm counting on you.
It's about time I bucked up. You're right.
Jackie does so much work now all the time, and her mother's here, who she refers to as the patient. And it's my new tactic has just been to do something every day I can point to. Like, trim had fallen off, like, the porch in front of our house, so I nailed it back in place. Took me like 2 minutes, and it's like, that's what I don't act like I'm not carrying my weight too.
I imagine you being like Hank Hill when he was organizing his enormous workshop, when he took he was forced to take time off of the propane store because he's like, Hank, you've never taken any time off of work ever. Please, you need to take a vacation. He's like, I don't need a vacation, and they decide to send him off on one, and he starts organizing, and he gets everything perfect like on day one, and so he just tips over a little can of nails for no
Three
reason,
fall out,
just to be like, oh, better pick that up again, and because he's just manufacturing something to do because he's so fucking bored. And that's what I imagine, where you're like, are these lawnmowers clean? Yeah, they're pretty spotless actually. I mean, what if somebody spilled paint on them? That'd be a shame. Clean that.
There's always more I could do, but I like now that, like, every day I've got some sort of forward progress, usually on the house or property that I can point to and be like, yeah, she's not fussing. She likes it. She's good.
I saw that Khabib has a fight coming up.
Is it with Ferguson?
It is with Ferguson. Ferguson's on a nice win streak. Khabib is like undefeated, I think, like 23-0 or some shit like that. I like watching his training videos because you really start to buy into Khabib as being some kind of Russian Superman, and he just seems so tough. He just seems so hard fucking core. I watched this video earlier, and he's like in the Dagestan mountains with like 8 other guys who are all hard as fuck, and they're in like shorts and tees, like doing these workouts with rocks, lifting the rocks over their heads and doing all these weird Russian calisthenics that look awful, and just pounding out chin-ups like as fast as he can at altitude, of course.
Rocky 5 shit.
Rocky 5 shit. They're running on mountains. They're just and when they run, it's just it's not a jog. They're not doing 5K. Like no, they're sprinting with everything.
The camera turns off and they're like
yeah, for sure. There was definitely some coordination because like the whole crew is like working out. Like they're all doing a different awful exercise independent from one another. They get the rock above their head like doing these, like just moving it around. Have
you seen BJ Penn do his underwater training?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that.
For people that haven't, he'll grab a heavy rock. I don't even know. It'd be a rock so heavy that I'm not sure I could lift it, but it's underwater. So he'll like swim down 8 feet, grab the rock, and do wind sprints on the sand underwater. Come up again, take a breath, go down, grab the rock, and do more underwater wind sprints. And it's just like, that looks really tiring. I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, the videos are all 15 seconds long, so you don't know how long he's doing it. But the implication
get him
is,
out! Get him out!
the implication is that's how he spends
Fishing
his
him out.
afternoons. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah.
That's that. But the thing that they keep like touting with Habib is that he's a Muslim guy, so he has no distractions that are vices. And his whole regimen has been militaristic and pointed toward combat like since childhood, like he's a Spartan warrior or something.
But does he have impressive wins? Here's the thing that happens with these undefeated fighters. You're
That
like,
last Michael Johnson fight was a whooping.
Yes. Okay. So the last Michael Johnson fight was really good. I wish he'd finished it. Did he finish it in the third? Right. So
I felt like he was torturing Michael Johnson so he could get more like FaceTime with Dana White because he was close to the cage.
I hear you, and you might be right. I think that though is the most flattering way to look at it. Another way to look at it is when he's on top of these guys, kicking their ass and dominating them, doesn't do a lot of damage. Right. So he was punching him in the head for 12 minutes or something before Michael Johnson had enough. That's a lot. And who else has he beat? Khabib.
I do not know.
I need to look it up. I had to open my browser.
He's gonna have to wait a while to get at Conor, but I think if he wins this next fight, especially if he wins it impressively, it's gonna be the fight that more and more people are calling for. Of course, you got the Conor Mayweather stuff still just spinning in place. Mayweather wanting I think Mayweather wants like $100 million fucking dollars or something like that. I heard someone say something about
How much
8-ounce
more does
gloves.
he need? Like at that point, how are you not just fighting entirely for your legacy?
So
he has so much money.
I want to get back to Khabib's record. So he beat Michael Johnson, who's awesome, and he beat him in the third round. It was halfway through the third. And then he beat Rafael dos Anjos. That was right before RDA became like super RDA. He went on a run after that loss. And then everyone else, like Pat Healy, Abel Trujillo, Thiago Tavares is good, but that guy was not on top of the.
They have that record in MMA though.
Yes, you're right. You're right. And I'm looking at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of these fights were in the UFC. Everyone in the UFC is good, right? I'll grab Conor, right, and say, here's the best fighter in the UFC at the moment. Whatever. Does have 2 belts. He's pretty impressive. Let's just roll with it. If I gave him 8 guys to fight in a row, he might drop one. It happens. Like all these fighters are good. But just the same, like whenever these guys have like a 24-0 record, it's like it's never 24 Connor's, Pettis's,
Sure.
etc.
I want to see it though, but I'm hoping that Mayweather fight happens. Who knows what to believe as far as that goes?
It's hard to know how much the record means in MMA a lot of the time because it seems like as a casual viewer, like I will go in and I'll see like on every card it seems like I'll pick somebody and look him up and be like, holy shit, this guy's 12-0. Like he's gonna kick this guy's ass. I check the other guy and he's like, 17-1. I don't know. Who are these people fighting? Where are all these? Where is
the losers?
There's
a whole bunch of guys beat the fuck up
Ligjovic, who's 1-130, and he's just that guy where they're like, Vlad, we need you in the ring. He's like, how much you pay? 200 at this point. Not a lot worth of your win,
And then there's
That
the
is a lot
opposite.
of potatoes.
They're like these absolute legends, like BJ Penn and Randy Couture, viewed as some of the best guys ever, and their record is like 16-8. It's like that's a lot of like. But
like that's what I was meaning.
They're
Is
monsters.
like you can see someone who's like 30-5. And maybe that record is actually more impressive than someone who's like 40-0.
Right.
If you actually go through and you look at the fights and you're like, oh, okay. I don't know. It's because it's one-on-one. It's so like you were talking about MMA math, where you try and be like, oh, well, the Capitals beat the Penguins and the Penguins beat the Blue Jackets. So the Blue Jackets are going to beat the Capital or whatever.
Right.
And that just, if it doesn't work in other sports hardly, but it kind of does. But in MMA, it doesn't seem like it would at all. Not even a little bit.
I agree.
Such a small mistake can end the whole fucking game in MMA. You can go out in the NFL and you could immediately get scored on and be like, oh, let's hope Brady and True can recover from that early sting and get things moving along. It's like, no, it's over. That early sting knocked Conor out. Like now he has a concussion. Like, he's not wearing a helmet. It's four, is it 4-ounce gloves or 6 ounce? It's 4, right?
4.
It's the most hardcore sport by like a big margin.
What sport?
Like,
hardcore.
MMA is the most
margins for error are non-existent. You see all the different ways that people get finished in the octagon. People get tapped to weird chokes. People get tapped to squeezes.
And
I get sad for them when I watch because like the guy who goes out there and like they're jumping up and down, they're getting hyped or doing what you guys are saying where they're like skipping around, like trying to like jingle songs in their head to get their heart rate down. And then sometimes like 4 seconds in, they're like, oh, he's coming in. Oh, and he dodges right into a flying right Superman hook. And he's just, nose broken on the ground. And then you see the guy like kind of start to come to, and in his eyes, you can see the moment where he's like, my last year of life has been a waste of time. I've wasted.
You want to see a good one that's like that? If you want to see that exact thing, it's on UFC, the app or whatever, the Fight Night thing. It's one of their like premier fights. It's Joe Lozon versus Diego Sanchez. Diego comes out and he's going, I'm a nightmare. And Joe whips his ass real quick. And Diego is crying. He's got tears in his eyes when, they're about to raise his hand there. I think it was Herb Dean at that fight. And Herb's holding both their hands. It's a TKO win for Joe. And there's tears in Diego's eyes, and the camera like closes in on his face, and he just goes,
dude, I've got so much sad waiting.
Bueno.
It is first of all, UFC is the win-loss business, and there's
no
other fight. There's no other sport there. Like the loser is such a loser, and it's all over the place. Like it's partly there's no team to hide behind, right? No one has a good game and still lost like they can in hockey or football. And then it's embarrassing. There's a certain amount of like, this guy just kicked your ass. I don't know how many fights you guys have been in, but it's embarrassing to lose a fight. And there it is in front of everybody. It's, I don't know, half the people that go into that thing lose, and that's a really big deal. You're going to see a lot more draws in the new rules.
That's like the in other sports, that's like the line that you take it to. If you're mad that you lost, you'll be like, God, that sucks. Well, but Crosby's such a pussy. I could beat his ass if I wanted to. And like you move the goalpost. But in fighting, it's like, well, shit. Like I bet I could beat him at chess, maybe. I don't know how smart he is.
That's an interesting thing about the McGregor-Mayweather fight. Rogan was saying this, and it opened my eyes.
I know what you're going to say.
Conor McGregor can kick Mayweather's ass without a doubt. Nobody questions this.
In boxing?
That's the thing. In fighting. Fighting, right? Like, so he's like, I'm not even going to fight this guy. We're going to do some really protected sort of dance where there's no kicking, no takedowns, no this, no that. We're going to big pads on our hands, and we're going to pretend to fight with arms only. If you take away, he's like, fuck the UFC, fuck MMA, fuck boxing, fuck everything. I meet this guy in a street corner. I kick his ass. It's my easiest fight of the career. And you think about it and you're like, holy fuck, that's true. That's true. Conor McGregor can kick Mayweather's ass and it will be the easiest fight of his career. Mayweather doesn't go against anybody else who can kick his ass, right? Mayweather's used to going up against other boxers. If you would have put them in a street fight, they would do boxing, right? But Conor is decided to remove 80% of his weapons and see how he can fare. And that's interesting to me. Like, that's cool. But make no mistake, Conor can kick his ass. I would love it if, like, let's say they do a 10-round fight, like a real boxing thing, and 8 rounds in, it becomes obvious that McGregor's down by 6 rounds and he's kind of fucked. If he says, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to kick his ass. And he just, like, takes him down. And, like, I'll fucking Kimura's him or fucking rear naked chokes him. I don't give a fuck how he wins. But he decides, you know what? I lost the fight. I'll give you that. But I kicked your ass because I don't like it.
That would be on the cover.
Boy, I'll bet you any amount of money. You've never been kicked in the head, huh?
Yeah, dude.
The cover of Sports Illustrated would be
a little harder than a punch, eh?
I don't know. Conor makes Mayweather pay, in his loss, and it would be Conor with Mayweather in a rear naked choke, and he'd be going, And Mayweather was like,
Yeah. Mayweather doesn't know how to defend a rear naked choke. And I don't know if you've ever been kicked before.
you
but
can't with gloves.
I think he can.
Yeah.
Dude,
No, with the big boxing gloves.
Yeah, he'd be like pawing at it.
defend it. I'm sorry. I thought you meant place it.
Oh, you still do
No,
it.
I'm with you. It would be very hard to defend with big boxing gloves on. What was I going to say? The fight Mayweather Conor. I'm losing it, but dude, that would be so interesting. And and there's a mental advantage that's not there because McGregor knows, and everybody knows. Everyone in the audience, everyone in the fight game, everyone in the world knows McGregor would kick Mayweather's ass. It'd be an easy day at work. Oh, I was going to say those kicks, man. If you've never been kicked, they're like, it's a lot to look for. I swear, when you watch people fight, it seems really obvious. I've talked about accuracy and how great I am at passing the salt and things like that, but it turned out it didn't translate. Kicking, it's like there's a blind spot. They have you put your hands up like this so you don't get punched in the head, by stuff you didn't see coming. And I'm like, how do people see with this shit going on here? Like you're really putting on the horse blinders. And
They say that, and they hammer it in your head with like any kind of boxing or any kind of Muay Thai training. But I watch those fighters, and they got them down here. They're looking around.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
wanting to see stuff happen.
Mayweather, he puts one hand up and one shoulder up, and that's how he does it.
Boxing, sure. Yeah.
And there's a couple. I think they call it like a Philadelphia style or something like that. But a couple of these guys from the Northeast, they use their shoulder to protect one side of their jaw and their hand for the other, and they can see. But if you're, if you're like a regular person, they all tell you like you're not Mayweather. Put your hands up, stupid. So answer the phone, or ain't no one gonna be home.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
That's really funny. Answer the phone, or nobody's
There's
gonna
gonna
be
be
home.
nobody.
Yeah, that's what they tell
but
me.
in an actual boxing match, if they're boxing, does Mayweather beat him by a little bit, or does he just manhandle McGregor?
They say a lot. They say Mayweather just demolishes Conor in boxing. Although recently, and it might just be me buying into the hype machine, they're like, hey, we'll see. They talked to Conor about it in his $5 pay-per-view. And he's like, yeah, they're all laughing at me. They've been laughing at me my whole career. They all laughed at me when I said I'd be a 2-belt champion in the UFC. They laughed at me when I said I'd be a champ in the UFC. They laughed at me when they said an Irishman could compete in the UFC, because there really weren't any that I know of. He's like, now they're laughing at me that I can't beat Mayweather. He said it motivates him.
That's a little bit of contrived, hurdles to get over. Oh, they said an Irishman could never fight in the UFC. It's like, no, they didn't. They were just like some Irish guy came over and he's like, hey, can I fight in the UFC? And they're like, sorry, Seamus, you're just not that good at this. And then Conor came over, hey, can I fight in the UFC? And they go, oh,
sure. Yeah.
And they're also Irish. And they go, yeah, you can too. You can for sure fight in the UFC.
There's a thing though, like in America, there's like a big base of wrestling that happens here. So there are tons of people who've been wrestling since they were 6 years old. And then jiu-jitsu is very popular here, even more popular in Brazil. So there's like a big, like people are going into the UFC with 12 years of jiu-jitsu experience now. In Ireland, like that wasn't a thing. It was just boxing. And, so the idea that an Irishman would be well-rounded and would have the takedown defense to handle these American wrestlers was surprising.
Like wrestling, that was the thing where like some wrestlers would get made fun of in high school for like, oh, that's so gay, you're wearing a leotard and rolling around with a bunch of men. But like even like they never got fucked with ever. Because for one, like if there was a little like 115 wrestler that I could beat up, I don't want Mr. 185 walking down the hall at me frustrated that I beat up his little buddy. But those guys, like they never get picked on. Like it's understood even with like football players, hockey players, everyone. It's like, yeah, don't fuck with a wrestler because you have like the image in your head of what a fight looks like. And then you realize real quick, oh, I'm on the ground. I didn't even see this coming.
Yeah. That guy gets in like a wrestling stance. You're like, whoa, what are you doing, buddy? Like, well, what are you doing down there? He starts coming at you, hooking fucking legs and stuff.
Or ankles, like, right? They're doing like toe picks and ankle picks and shit. You're like, I can't. What? No. Like, why are you so low? This isn't.
Try to like throw some arm punches down, and the next thing you know, you're flying head over heels through the air. Like,
Randy
that sounds
Couture
like a terrifying thing.
was this. I think he was an Olympic wrestler. Not definitely world championship, and he went up against James Toney, who was like one of the. I'm gonna make up a number. Top 25 heavyweights ever to exist, and. He fought Randy Couture. Randy Couture did this ankle pick. He did a takedown on him. Randy's nose was like 6 inches off the ground. He like dove in, did some sort of I don't know, snake like wiggle across the ground, pulled his toe in the air, and now James is on his back and he doesn't know what he's doing. And if you're Randy, you're like, good move. Good move. I like that from Randy, because if he had gone in like a waist level or something, Tony might have an uppercut waiting for him. But he attacked that guy from ankle to knee, and
those are some of the worst fucking like when a guy's going for a takedown, when he's shooting, when he's going for a double leg or something, and he's basically right off the mat, and he catches a knee that's perfectly timed because the other guy's been waiting on him to shoot again. Those are concussive. That's
you can't even be mad at the guy
knee.
for like throwing the knee, because it's like you forced his hand. You were diving
you're
at
both
his leg.
going in the same direction. I like that when I see that in a fight, or when I see like a guy who's timing the other guy's kicks, like the guy's been fucking kicking him all match, and then finally that high kick comes again, and he fucking trips the guy and is immediately on top of him, dropping elbows. I'm like, oh, he's loving this right now. This is what he's been waiting on.
This is the
Kick
shit
this, you motherfucker.
elite wrestlers do. This is Yoel Romero. He's going to be fighting Bisping soon at 185. Look at him take this guy down.
That's great.
It's like
It's a very slick maneuver.
he just reaches down, grabs his foot, and tosses him on his like.
And he doesn't even, like, if you watch it, he's not even, like, using a bunch of effort to toss the guy. He's just pulling him the perfect amount of distance to force that dude to, like, hop step. And then when the dude hop steps, he just pulls.
He probably watched that guy be on his rear foot, like, throughout most of the fight and was like, oh, that guy's slightly leaning back already. He's totally vulnerable to this. And yeah, he picks him up, drops him on the back like a child. If I was wrestling Colin, it would go like this.
Yeah. Whoops!
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, let's try that again.
This just doesn't look like fun at all. Like, I don't know why people
You're
got
the guy
into.
doing it.
Yeah, I think Yoel's having a good time.
Like to be in the driver's seat of that guy who just did that to another professional fighter, a fucking killer, and made him look a fool. And then I'm guessing dropped some bombs on him right after. I don't know if that won the fight or what happened right after that, but that's got to be a lot of fun.
I would guess.
Yeah,
Man.
that's fair.
So, dudes, remember when last time Conor won? I was on target with this. I was like, the next big fight Conor has is with the UFC, right? That's what we're going to see next. The thing is, I thought I would really enjoy it. I thought it was going to be cool to watch the back and forth. I enjoy business negotiations and especially this super high stake stuff. And Dana's great at it, and Conor seems to have people that are very good at it. I'm not liking it at all.
It's that. So this is different than most negotiations because Conor is talking about going to do another sport. So his contract doesn't fucking matter. The UFC can't,
That's in doubt, but I hear you.
Brendan Schwab brought that up. He's like, hey, I'm retired, but if I try to go fight anywhere, the UFC is going to go, you got 3 more fights right here. Your contract is frozen in perpetuity. That's how this shit works. Mm-hmm. And so, but this is Conor going to box. It's a whole other sport. He might as well, they're not going to mess with his tennis rivalry with, Serena Williams next year either. They just can't say anything. And so what Conor wants to do is what Floyd has done. And I don't like Floyd. There are 2 things that I do like about him, though. I like when he gambles because that's cool to me because he gambles with huge amounts of money. He'll bet he bet like 25 grand on Clemson the other day and ended up walking away with like almost 60 because they won. I like that about him.
God, that must be awesome to have that much money that just on a lark, like you don't tell people all 10 times that you do that throughout the year, like, yeah, 30,000 on that, 30,000 on that. You just like tweet the one where it's like 30 grand on Clemson, walking home with 70. How you like
Tweets
me
the
now?
bets beforehand, man, and he loses sometimes. He doesn't give a fuck. His Instagram is entertaining because he'll do audacious shit. Like Dan Bilzerian will do some stuff, but Floyd will like burn some money to make some stuff happen. Dan will like, all right, what's that going to cost? 8,000. All right. Well, yeah, that's a good investment. But Floyd just like fuck it.
Floyd's just like gifs and emojis and pictures
because he can't read.
A lot of smiley faces on that guy's account.
A lot of boxing glove emojis. Like it's like an Irish flag and a punching thing going at it. Like that's his.
Is that a real thing?
No,
it could be.
It's a real thing that he can't read.
Is that actually true though? Like for real?
Yeah, it's actually true. Fucking. So here's what happened. He went into when you
just
go into
learn to read, man.
when you go into radio interviews, like you go to Stern Show or any big show, they ask you to do to record like call signs for.
You're
them
watching
after.
KH101, and they're the greatest
Yeah.
hits this side of the Dixie.
The Howard
line.
Stern Show with Jerry Delapate, and he's trying to read this script, and he can't read, and he's stuttering over and making himself look like a goddamn fool. And they took that recording and they released it because he was a dick to him. And 50 Cent gets a hold of it, and 50 Cent's like reading the case, like, I'll give you. He's like, look here, player, I'll give you $100,000. All you got to do is read The Cat in the Hat. Here, I'll start it out for you. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Sam, I am. All right, now you finish, motherfucker. And it's just like, oh shit, that's worse. That like Floyd could have been like, I'll whoop your ass. You know, I'll beat you up. I don't care how many times you've been shot. You're about to get knocked out. And he's like, you can't read, bitch. You can't read words. You're Charlie from fucking It's Always Sunny. You're like writing in like pentagram and symbols and emojis.
To not be able to read and have all that money, like it's
He reads
like
really poorly.
Go to Sylvan Learning Center, get Rosetta Stone. The sky is the limit.
But-
You tried English and it didn't pan out. Now try Spanish.
You're right, but he spends his whole life a king of his castle, right? All his friends are on the payroll. They all kiss his ass constantly. For him to put himself in that position where of lack of dignity, where he's reading Cat in the Hat like a child, it would it'd be
That,
a
for
step
sure.
down for him. Like
I just mean like in his own head. Like I'm just thinking from my
should
perspective.
get
If
that
I
down
if I
future.
suddenly wasn't able to read, my quality of life would drop off so dramatically.
Yeah.
Tremendous. It would drop off
Bigly.
a huge amount. Yeah, bigly. And I just think that, like, good God, dude, like, don't you see? Just learn to read. You've already got all the money in the world. If you could read, now sky's the limit.
By the way,
It's
it's
a
really
lot of
hard for him
stupid
too.
people, bro.
You're not
That's true,
asking
yeah.
him to like cut his mile time, which maybe is something that he would like really latch onto. You're asking him to face his worst demon.
Yeah, he
That's
should have
true.
lied and said he was dyslexic and just got right out of all that. He'll be like, man, it's hard for me to
Yes.
even make out what's on the
Oh.
page.
To know
He's
those
like-
style if you can't read.
and then he like donates 20 grand to the Dyslexia Center of America or whatever the fuck and makes 50 Cent look like a jerk.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
all of a sudden, if you're making fun of him, you're making fun of someone with a
children.
disability. That's
Yeah.
what the Diaz brothers have. Like oh
accidentally
yeah,
goes to Ease Foundation. 'Cause
That-
you can't
Especially to the left.
that fucked up speech pattern thing the Diaz's do. Like they're not. I don't see them as disabled people. I see them as people who kind of freeze up on the mic, and suddenly they've turned it into like, well, I have a speaking disorder. You're really making fun of a handicapped person, and people will leap to their defense constantly, and that's just how it goes. But
Yeah. But those are the things holding him back. So not only is it a different sport, so the UFC is kind of doesn't have a really a fire in the poker or
That's,
a fire
poker.
poker in the fire. A poker in the
that's
fire.
under
not a fire
debate, by the
poker.
way. The UFC would tell you that you're wrong. I don't know
It
if
is
he's
under
right.
debate, but I'm confident that Connor's lawyers will be able to get him right on through that. It just seems like a different fucking sport. I guess it depends on the wording of this UFC contract. Maybe
I
if
don't
it
fully
said
understand
combat
the
sports.
Ali Act. I don't know.
Maybe if it just said combat sports, but I got a feeling it says mixed martial arts, not the sport of boxing, which is its own thing, as you know. So, like, I think he's going to be free and clear, and he doesn't want the UFC in this. He doesn't need them. He doesn't want to split the pie with them. He's got Conor McGregor Promotions now, right? His own promotion thing, and that's what the other thing I was going to say that I like about Floyd, besides his gambling, is that he immediately said, "I'm not going to be a Tyson. I'm not going to be an Ali. There's not going to be some guy back there pulling my strings and making me dance for his show. I'm not going to go perform in someone else's circus. I'm the ringmaster. I collect the tickets. I collect the money. I dance with the elephant. I jump through the hoops. I'm the fucking show. So why should there be anybody else?" And he gets this massive cut of the profits because he's promoting the thing and he's putting on the show. He's the one who rents out the building that they fight in.
It's amazing that he put that all together because I don't think Mayweather actually
As an
has
illiterate
many.
man.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
he has any management skills. There must be somebody, I presume, very trustworthy in his world who's running this business for him.
I don't.
And
But that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, like you said, he's got Mayweather Productions. Well, shit, I could fire up Woodworth Productions in 6 days. And
Yeah, but he's got employees. He's
yeah,
like
but
getting
my
this thing
business would be
going.
shit. It'd be empty. It'd be name only, right? He has something that actually works. Connor fired up McGregor Productions. I think that's what it's called. And but what is it exactly? He's not prepared to run a pay-per-view event. Like, he just started an LLC or whatever it is he started.
I think when you're as big as him, like the show comes to you. I feel like there's like people calling his representation, his agent being like, look, I'm Max Steinberg, and I represent the Jimmy Farrelly brothers, and we rent out arenas all over the country, and we promote shows, and we have this many like social media plugs, and we have this much like radio, and this is how we put on a show. Like, you hire us, and he's like, oh, I like how you do things. I'm gonna copy you. I don't want to hire you. I'm going to copy you, though, and I'm going to hire that guy that works for you. Yeah, come on. You're part of McGregor Productions.
Somehow,
be smart.
Somehow Mayweather managed to, like, not hire Don King and, like, he walked through a minefield. There we go. Thank you so much. He walked through
land field.
He walked through kind of like a beachy area with things underground, and he walked through a minefield and managed not to step on any mines. And there's tons of people in this world ready to steal from illiterate athletes, and somehow it didn't happen to him. So maybe he was smart enough to hire like all right, you're my accountant. And you're the accountant who watches my accountant, you know, and you set things up like that. I've often thought to myself, like, I want to be that guy. Like, that'd be a fun career for me. Like, hey, you know what, Tom Brady? Listen, like, I don't know who's managing your money or anything, but how about I be the guy that watches the people that manage your money? I'll be honest. I'll let you know where stuff is going.
And you give me a bonus if I ever come to you with something. I get 5% of whatever malfeasance I catch.
And then you work with the people handling his money to pull off a huge amount of fraud. Then you report it as a double agent. And you get a lot of money.
Switcheroo. We're both in league together the whole time.
Yeah.
But
Kansas City Shuffle.
It'll be interesting to see where these guys land too. So Dana White is convinced that Mayweather's going to be broke. And you'd think he can't be, but we all thought that about Tyson, too. Somehow he managed to, you get a divorce, you have a few tigers and a mansion, and you can spend out of your money. You can spend your money.
It's hard to take a finance class if you can't read.
That's a strong point.
The tigers and the plane are actually really expensive.
Mayweather charters separate planes to carry all his luggage. Like, when you do shit like that, you burn through cash.
But he doesn't own
That's
the
a
plane.
whole new level of stupid.
No, it's not, because he doesn't own those planes like Tyson. I think Tyson bought like some tens of $1 million like Learjets or some shit. Like he's renting them, which is, he's blowing like $100,000, every couple months or something on some kind of trip like that. But he's not blowing $8 million or something, or the fuel costs alone get up, and then the maintenance and stuff. Like, Tyson really got fucked. But you're right. Anybody can go broke. I just think he's got so goddamn much money. He's got $400 million in the bank, and he's got like, I don't know. It seems like he could go out anywhere and write a book or do a promotion or do an exhibition or something and make himself a couple million here or there. Like, just seems like a made man.
It seems like it would be hard to go broke. Like, you'd have to be like intentionally irresponsible. It seems like you'd have to intentionally make bad purchases and be like, hey, do we want to bring one jet? Well, you're only allowed 2 carry-ons on this one, and you've got 600 bags. All right, just bring another jet. You don't want to just like buy a new coat in Atlanta when you arrive? No, whole other plane. Bring it. My God.
Yeah, who was the guy who got caught with weed on the plane? Was it Wesley Snipes? I'm mixing it up. I forget. SNL did this great thing. They're like, you are worth $19 million. When you're worth $19 million, buy weed when you get there. Don't bring it on the plane. Yeah, that seems like a sharp move right there. How much could this weed have been worth that it was worth putting on a plane? Do you guys have any insight on this? So if I needed to get a knife home, it wouldn't be so crazy to
just put it in your checked luggage and it's home.
There's that. I've had a knife on, I don't know how many carry-ons, in the teens. And twice I've got caught, usually because I don't plan it. I just have a knife in my backpack and I'm on the plane. I'm like, oh, fuck, it's still here. Or anyway, I could talk about knives. But I get through most of the time. Do people bring weed on planes?
I remember.
Yeah,
they do.
Idea.
They do. So the TSA doesn't look for it. They're not interested in it. And I remember when we went to PAX in Seattle, a YouTuber who shall not be known just rolled a bunch of blunts up, stuck them in his front pocket, and walked on in there and flew across the country into another airport, walked out of the airport, took him out of his front pocket, and he was smoking them the whole trip. You'd see him smoking his blunts over there, and he would stink up the whole outside. I'll type to you who it was. It was,
I'm really curious. I have a
I know
guess. I have
exactly
2 guesses, actually. That was my second guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the man. He gave no fucks. You know, it was just like right there. He had they were grape. I think you could smell them. He had this grape whole pack of like Swisher blunts.
Like cigarellos.
Yeah, and they were, they were weed.
I have another
Puffing 'em up,
story
you
about him that I just love, but I feel like if I tell it, then
Yeah,
people
so
might
tell
put
it
one
right
and
now
one
since,
together. Yeah, so I
Yeah, he'd
can't.
probably be proud of
Another
us.
time.
He'd probably proud of this story, and it would be like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. He's like, I smuggled that shit
But
right through. I don't care.
It's his story to tell, though.
Yeah, of
I won't
course.
tell
Yeah, I
it.
would tell his fucking story. Especially
So,
I'm waiting. I'm really excited for when because I feel like weed's not going to continue to get legalized at the rate that we've seen it so far, where it's like, oh, a little smattering of a couple states here, and then oh, another one over here. Like at some point, there's going to be a cascade. I feel like where the remaining however many states or a big group is going to be like, all right, we are just being stupid at this point because Illinois got it legalized and then Kentucky legalized it. And so all these Missourians are just driving out of state and spending their money somewhere else. We got to make sure we're bringing people here. It just seems so logical. That
Maine just legalized recreational marijuana. Maine. Yeah.
Good for Maine.
And then Massachusetts has.
I think Maine is a
either
purple state. I think you'd accurately describe them as purple. I'm not sure, though.
Well, Trump took that one rep that was
And
from
the
the
others
district,
went blue.
and the others went blue.
That's
So
kinda
sure,
yeah.
purple to me. But yeah, they got. I think they got recreational there, and I think in Joe's state of Massachusetts, they've got it's either medical or rec. I thought it was rec. Florida's getting medical. That's the first southern state. Although of course it's Florida. It's not.
It's
really
not
a southern.
Yeah.
It's different.
All right.
But it's right there in the attached to us. It's going to bleed over into Georgia and Alabama.
It
Maybe they'll
will.
change their ways.
If nothing else, then it'll create the situation that Taylor just described, where people from Georgia or politicians from Georgia are like, everyone's just driving 30 miles south. We should consider legalizing it. North Carolina, it hasn't even been on the radar. We're very Republican dominated, not in the voter base, but because of the gerrymandering, and our politicians are like 70%. So it's just not even on our radar. We're still trying to get people in the right bathrooms. We're
you'll
not
figure it out.
That's so funny that they even made a big deal about that. Like if we just had never addressed this issue and just kept leaving it to be the honor system of bathroom codes of, hey, if you have to take a shit, go take a shit, and hopefully it's the right one. It would have been fine.
The
But no,
thing
it's
is, so they call it the bathroom bill, and I swear, it's a bit of optics going on when they describe it as a bathroom problem. Because what they also did is they made it legal to discriminate based on sexual orientation and sex life and things like that. And that's really the bigger. No one talks about that. No one says, "Oh, if you're gay, you can get fired for being gay now." That's not a thing that they just say. Oh, it's about bathroom usage. It's not. That's a tiny little thing that has all the optics. The real issue is in North Carolina now, it's like it hurts your career to be gay. And, that I think everyone agrees that's crazy and wrong, right? But
how does it hurt?
oh,
They
you're
can
allowed to
discri- they
fire
can-
people. You can get fired for being gay. That's
ridiculous.
In the bathroom bill, that's actually the core thing of it. That now sexual orientation and all that fun stuff, employers are allowed to discriminate based on it. That's the core of that bill. They act like it's about bathroom selection, but that's optics, and they've done a great job with their optics.
Like when they make a bill that's just about censoring the internet or getting you to look at more ads, and they call it the anti-child abuse and no more child porn bill. And it's you wouldn't be against that, would you?
Right.
You monster. And
Uh-huh.
it's well, really, you're sneaking some sketchy stuff about our internet on here.
That's the thing.
Masquerading it around as protecting children.
The what's it called when everyone has the same internet speed? I'm losing the term for it. Net neutrality, network neutrality. That is expected to go away. The major network neutrality opponent, the person who said that internet companies should charge for different speeds, he's now head of the FCC. So that's one of the Trump things I really don't like.
Yeah. I don't think we like the FCC thing very much. I don't know. We'll have to see what decisions he makes when it's up to him. And it seems like he's reasonable. Honestly,
So far,
it doesn't seem.
no surprises. I'm sorry to cut you off. Like he hasn't done anything that. So when W took office, right? One of the first things he did was he changed his mind about whether it was okay to have anthrax in the water. He says, you know what? A little anthrax, it's cool. And we're like, dude, this was like one of the things you ran on. Like, this is a thing that you repeated at all your campaign stops. Step one in your campaign was to in your term was to backtrack on it. Trump, I don't accuse him of backtracking on anything. There's nothing.
He hasn't locked Hillary up yet.
Fair point. Okay, that actually I think is a fair example. You know,
he might be working on it though. I imagine him like having high-level meetings where he's like, "Are you sure we can't do it? Because I promised. I really want to lock her up." And you're like, "Sir, we'd have to really burn a lot of bridges to take Mrs. Clinton alive." You know.
That's a good. That is okay. You got me on that one. He said he would do it and he hasn't. But by and large, I'm finding most of the things he's doing, the Muslim ban. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm expecting him to put in a pro-life Supreme Court justice.
Yep, he announced it.
Is it that Gorch guy? I'm bad with names.
I don't know which one it is. You know, he had it narrowed down to two, and he literally had them both come to fucking Washington, D.C.
It's the Apprentice version of choosing a Supreme Court judge.
I think they're probably both like federal district court judges or something like that. Like these aren't. He's got them.
I read about Neil Gorsuch, me and names, because I just wanted to be educated, like even before tonight's show. He's conservative. He's mostly reasonable. He's never talked about being pro-life or pro-choice, which helps him get in. But there are a bunch of other things he talked about, and he really doesn't do separation of church and state. So that would imply to me, like someone who's so pro-religion would probably be pro-life. And then Trump promised he'd put a pro-life guy in there, so that's kind of a thing. So apparently this guy is predicted to get right in, and he'll be everything that Trump said he was. You know, I don't know, dude. Sometimes Americans forget how powerful the Supreme Court is, and I'm no different. I think of it as like, oh, they're the one who decides about abortion, right? That's the thing. That's like their job. It's 9/10 of it, really. They just decide every day they meet, and they're like, legal or not? I'll vote it again. And you know, every time this is Supreme Court justice, that's like the question, like what's going to happen to this? I was going to call it a right. I don't know what to call it, but you know, freedom, medical procedure. You know, pick your murder. Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, pick your poison, just like your abortionist.
Yeah. So, but it won't change. It won't flip it. He needs another one because really he's replacing Scalia, who was already pro-life.
Yeah, he might get a couple more. Like you know, there's Ruth Bader Ginsburg or whatever her fucking name is, like 1,000 years old. And then there's a second one who's also like 70s or 80s or some shit. Like it's possible he gets 3 total, which would really reshape the court. Because, you know, right now he's replacing a conservative. You know, that was the fear with Obama's appointment, even though Obama picked a guy who was kind of right up the middle and would have gotten bipartisan support. You know, that's got to be one of the biggest fucking gambles of all time that the Republicans made in not confirming Obama's pick with Trump coming down the barrel, if you think about it, because Obama puts that guy up for consideration for the Supreme Court seat, and he's right down the middle. You know, he's someone that the GOP could get on board with. He's not ideal. He's not a conservative, but he's not a flaming liberal either. And they're like, nah, we're gonna roll the dice. We're gonna see if we can hit like 666s here and get our own appointment. Who's gonna be a pro-life guy? Yeah, they're going for Yahtzee.
It makes me sad though. Like I don't like it. Obama was supposed to be able to say that he only had like whatever it was 250 days left and therefore he shouldn't be able to appoint a justice is just wrong. Like it broke a record of delay going back to like the 1800s. Like it was really extreme. And
I heard
then
something
even that
else
was
on
a
that.
special case.
So I heard them saying that there was like a rule that the president's not a real rule, but sort of an observed tradition, if you will, in politics, that the president wouldn't select a Supreme Court justice in their last year or something like that. They pointed out
Why
the
is
president. It went back to. I guess the feeling is that he's making a he's really influencing the entire national political scene, and it's his last. He's trailing off. He's about to leave office. So I don't feel like he should have that input. I don't feel like he represents the feelings of the American people at that moment, or the most recent ones. Maybe, Obama was elected 4 years ago.
Maybe.
I wonder.
I mean, I see I see how that makes sense, but I also.
Well, this
understand
is what
why
we
you would be
have.
upset.
Regardless of any of that. That's what I heard them saying. That
So,
there's.
I heard the opposite. I read it, and they went through all the things, and there was one other lengthy one, but they actually it took a second or third justice to get passed, so it wasn't like they were denying hearing it. This was the longest ever that anyone just covered their ears and said la la la, going back to like the 1800s, and then there was some special it was something new, and I don't agree that. Like the last year of your term. We're not talking about like after you got voted out, because that's a special thing. Like if you've already like lost your reelection bid, the people have spoken, then there might be some, civility. Like, look, I got voted out. The people said their thing. I'm kind of not obeying my constituents by doing it after I lost. This was not the case. He had a year left on his presidential term. He's still our president. And to be like, you know what? You might lose the reelection. So, not even you might lose. You're lame duck, but your party might not win a year from now. Therefore, you're done ruling. Like that's not how our system has ever worked or works. We have a president, and he gets to choose the justice. And I think all of us probably, with the gun thing, we all agree. It's just where we are. I think we all want things to stay pro-choice, and we all want things to stay pro-gun. It seems like you can't have both.
Yeah. One thing that I don't know about is using federal taxpayer money for the abortions. Whenever I get an abortion, I pay for it right out of my pocket. All right? Sure. And I expect the same from everyone else.
Adult. It's like my grocery bill.
You ever had to come up with $500?
Every fucking week I do.
It's like getting preemptive at this
point. Scott said, for instead of condoms, he would use Plan B. And I was always like, well, there's always Plan C. That's there too. Don't forget,
dude. Sometimes we book appointments just to stay on the calendar because
sometimes it's hard to get into.
It's easier to cancel. Yeah, exactly.
There's a long waiting line down there. It's a good place to pick up chicks.
Right. Yeah. Oftentimes they're
very vulnerable people.
They're oftentimes coming coming out of a rocky relationship. Yep. Yeah. There you go.
If you don't want anything long term, if you just want to be a rebound guy with a girl who's proven to put out, abortion clinics is the place to be.
They just came up with $500 in a pinch, so maybe they'd like a meal paid for at this juncture, right?
Yeah, they weren't planning on that.
And the most important thing to number one right here is they are pro-abortion, guarantee it.
Exactly. Yes, they put out and they're pro-choice.
It's a real win. I go to this abortion the rallies, and I try to just slide on in there with those ladies and make myself at home. That's a good place to mingle.
I can't imagine a worse place. A more uncomfortable place.
Hey there, ladies.
It's funny how we pretty squarely disagree on the candidates, but we pretty squarely agree on most of the issues too. I guess it's just a matter of prioritization.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's what Bill Burr says at the beginning of that special. He's like, and I don't know if we mentioned that the special is recorded pre-election determination. So he's like, oh, we have to choose between, a dopey racist and the devil. And I like that comparison because I guess that's kind of what we have. It's pretty accurate.
I went to I thought there was a break. I went to this airport and the guy said that exactly. He was like, Jesus isn't running this election. Can't vote for Jesus this time around. but the devil is. The devil's running. And, you know, it was
I like
damn.
that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Trump should have
good.
used that.
Too little, too
That would have
late.
worked great on him. Like, Christ isn't here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. He's not in this race, but Satan is.
But the
Satan
next
is in this
best
race,
thing-
and I feel him every time I am on the stage with Hillary Clinton. I can feel it in my bones. I can feel the presence of evil. I smell
Hallelujah.
the brimstone on her breath. With
They
if
said
you look
that about
closely, she
Obama.
has a. If you look closely, she has a forked tongue. Like he
Obama
had the crowd rolling.
Obama did a like he was helping campaign for Hillary, and he's like, you know, they say I'm the devil. They say I smell like sulfur. I don't think so. You know? And look, I like Obama. I think even the people who don't like his term, who feel like he did nothing or the things he did were wrong, mostly feel like, yeah, but I wouldn't hate him at the barbecue. You know, he's not such a bad guy.
Those wings, they're delicious. I want to redistribute them to my mouth.
Redistribute them to my mouth.
Take them off.
See, that's what Obama would be doing at his barbecue. Is he would be worrying about how to divide up the one tray of wings when anyone else would just order more wings. You know, make sure everybody gets as many
fucking
wings as
hot
they
wings immediately at your barbecue. You'd be trying to get rid of that guy. He's like
So-
taking them off your plate, putting them on some other fuckers.
I have an issue with the way Trump's handling like next gen energy. I don't know why Republicans hate solar and wind so much. Like other countries are moving to it like 100%. The efficiency is like skyrocketing. There's something like 98% better than they were 10 years ago. Like all these countries are doing it. It's working for them. It's endless supply. It's so wonderful. And you know, I think it's more expensive than some of
that's
the other
kind of
things.
romanticizing it a bit.
I think
Like,
it's more
not-
expensive currently, but it like the trend is very clear. And in my head, like this is the next computer. Like America won computers in like the 70s and 80s, and we've been benefiting for the last 30, 40 years, right? It's been great. Someone's going to win energy, and
That's an
they're going
interesting comparison. I
to
hadn't thought about it like
benefit
that.
from it for the next 40 years or so. And if with Trump as our president, I think there's a really good chance it's not us. Like China wins solar. They're going to be where all the solar cells come from. It's just going to be a known thing. And I think that's unfortunate.
Unless Elon Musk gets his ear and,
see.
and explains. And
I hope you're
convinces-
right.
because you would. I feel like Trump is open to reasonable information. Like we saw that with the torture thing. Certainly, you know, he's like, look, I believe that if you drown somebody, they'll tell you what the fuck you want to know. I just believe it. Because if you drown me, I'd tell you all kinds of shit. I would. I'd just tell you. I'd tell you what I paid him, and then I didn't pay any taxes because it's true. You know, if you start drowning Trump, he knows he'd give you some secrets. So he's like, look, I believe in it, but this guy's a fucking general. That's what he does. He's tortured people before, and he tells me it doesn't work. So I'm going to lean on him for this. I
mean,
hope he does the same thing when Elon Musk says, "Sir, we're falling behind. The chinks are catching up on us." Like he just throws. Everybody's like, "Ooh, Elon! I can't believe you used that." He's like, "Trust me, I got him." He's like, I got him hooked. He
I
heard
speak his
chink and
language.
eyes perked up. We're on the same page now. Just go with this. Why are you wearing that hood, Elon? Just go with it. You know, I feel like you can
I know
still-
my audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hope you're right. Elon Musk, I'm really glad he's working for America. And yeah. But anyway, so, it does scare me a little bit. Did I lose you guys? I feel like I lost Kyle.
No, Kyle broke up for a sec.
Oh, anyway, it does worry me a little bit that like we get the Exxon guy to be Secretary of State. We get the guy with like I don't want to exaggerate, but I thought he already had like 600 concurrent lawsuits with the EPA, running the EPA now. And there's another example too. I guess Rick Perry in charge of energy, and it's like, all right, you know, I guess we're not doing the whole green thing anymore. But again.
Oh. Talking about money.
He never said he was the green guy. He said he was the coal guy.
Said he was the money guy. He's gonna make America first again, and that's everybody likes hearing that. And the people who don't like it, I don't like those people. You know, anybody who's like, "Oh, America first," you say. Well, what about everyone else? This is
Fuck them.
This is a planet we live on. It's like, all right, maybe in 200 years in Star Trek times we can start thinking like that. But right now, a lot of the rest of the planet is pretty fucking backward and evil and their version of how life works doesn't mesh with ours.
Totally incompatible.
And by the
Yeah.
way, we have good
Not
trading
even-
partners who I'm happy to be friends. Like I don't know if everyone's impacted the same way, but the whole UK, Great Britain people, when they were there for us in Iraq, when nobody else, well, everyone else was like, "What the fuck?" They didn't do 9/11. They don't have weapons of mass destruction. Britain was like, fuck it, I'm still in. Britain's on our team. Canada, I feel like Canada's on our team, even though they weren't there.
They were.
In Iraq,
Yeah.
I kind of remember
I
them.
thought they were.
I would need to check then.
Maybe
I
I'm
thought they
thinking of
weren't.
Afghanistan. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
They were,
that.
they're definitely one of them.
But I still think there's a couple, right? UK, Canada, a few more Europeans probably.
I do remember that
Same
coalition
team.
was pretty pitiful. Like when he was like, "We have a proud coalition that we are proud to lead into the nation of Iraq to fight these evildoers and this axis of evil." And it was like, "Oh, really? Who do you have?" And it was like, "The Philippines." And it's like, wait, what are they sending? What is the Philippines? And like some of those countries weren't even sending like manpower or material. They were like sending water. Like
Yeah, I remember the UK sent a good amount of people. They actually did real fighting.
Yeah.
Of course, America sent a lot of people. We did most of the fighting, and then Australia sent like a dozen people. Like, we got boots on the ground. We're on your team. Thanks.
that's a case of boomerangs.
Yeah, now we
That's
have
some
like
bullshit.
special diets to deal with. KBR handle it, and that's that. I don't know. They didn't do much. They weren't really there.
Yeah, I remember thinking, oh man, this is a weak coalition. He couldn't beg, borrow, and steal like a France up
Well, he
out of
was wrong.
somewhere. He couldn't get Belgium on board.
Couldn't get
He was
Belgium.
wrong. All right. Yeah, like somebody, like get the Netherlands in on this. Like let's get somebody we've heard of.
You think he
before. He's
tried to
got all
like
this
talk to Swaziland in Africa so that he could say it quickly and people be like, "Oh, Switzerland's on board. They never jump in." Swaziland.
They
No,
say it
small
funny in
Central
Texas.
African country.
That's great. All right, we should probably call it a wrap.
Yeah.
All right, PKN, I mean to say, episode 129. It was a good show.
Yeah.